For all people, life is a series of transitions. So imagine for a moment that you are a student standing at a crossroads of this great precipice of change. This prospect may be exciting. It may be daunting. It may be the great adventure one is destined to experience. For most high school-aged students, this transition process is relatively predictable. It may include college, a job, or the military. Perhaps they haven't worked out all the details, but most have a vague idea of what the near future will bring and what it takes to get there. For students with disabilities, the future is far less clear, far less traversed, and far more complicated. The transition from high school to adult life requires specific planning, outlined by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act of 2004, commonly referred to as IDEA. IDEA mandates that the Transition Services section of the IEP include, at a minimum, a plan addressing the education and training, employment, and independent living needs of the student. Transition planning also allows students to set goals and follow a trajectory as part of a coordinated set of activities implemented by school personnel, the student and his or her family, and related service providers and community agencies as needed, in order to make sure the student completes the requirements necessary to meet his or her objectives and complete a seamless transition from school to post-school activities. Without adequate transition planning, students would exit school and disproportionately underachieve. In other words, they end up somewhere by accident, rather than by design. Transition planning helps identify the destination, along with the supports needed to succeed in getting there. Most schools begin the transition planning process when a student is about 14, although this may vary by state. Transition planning may include developing a specific instructional course of study, identifying necessary related services, implementing community experiences, and the outlining of employment or other post-school adult living objectives. Additionally, it may also be important to address the acquisition of daily living skills and functional vocational evaluations. Even though at the age of 14, students are still quite young, beginning the transition process at this age enables students, parents, and school personnel to plan, anticipate, and make appropriate arrangements and accommodations in order to maximize a student's success. School professionals should emphasize transition planning to improve outcomes for students with disabilities once they leave high school. Though the school counselor has a significant role in transition planning, it is ultimately a team effort. This results in a long-range, individualized plan to address academic, career, and life goals, and utilizes strategies to support students' goal attainment. By its very nature, transition planning is very person-centered, which is consistent with the scope and domain of occupational therapy. A transition plan considers the future, and by incorporating a person-centered focus, the services that a student receives are specific to his or her needs, strengths, and abilities, and they can better address disability-specific issues. It is important to note that the IEP team will repeat this process each year, revisiting and revising information and the transition services section of the IEP as needed, and writing new annual goals. Both formal and informal assessments may be used to help guide the transition process and be used in conjunction with measurable goals. Assessments typically involve collecting information about a student's strengths, needs, preferences, and interests. The IEP team uses this information to establish suitable, measurable goals and services that need to be included in the student's IEP. The IEPs of transition-age students include a course of study, which lists all the courses and other educational or training experiences a student will need to prepare him or her for post-school options. This may include individualized high school curriculum, suitable electives, and a progression of grade-by-grade courses planned through graduation. The course of study should be attached to the student's measurable post-secondary goals. It should also be accommodating and adjust to the needs of the student. One aim of the high school course of study is to ensure that the student has the necessary foundation to be successful. In those instances when the student wishes to pursue a college degree, the course of study can be used to augment the basic graduation requirements. Informal training and education opportunities may also be applicable, especially for students looking to pursue gainful employment following graduation. Opportunities may include workplace tours, job shadowing assignments, internships, on-the-job training, apprenticeship programs, continuing education, or community education classes. Students greatly benefit from learning about various work settings. Exposing students to a variety of community-based or career areas will help the student to identify areas of interest or develop ideas when considering future pursuits. This experience may also help motivate a student to help one to identify the skills that he or she may need to acquire in order to be eligible for employment in a particular field. Non-traditional training experiences should still be tied to the student's course of study as outlined in the IEP. Future living arrangements are also a consideration of the transition planning process, and goals for independent living should be written when appropriate. With a severe shortage in group homes and supported living environments, the ability of a student to independently and safely pursue leisure activities may open the door to a greater variety of living settings and arrangements. Other students may need assistance with becoming more independent with self-care and activities of daily living, or have the ability to safely prepare simple, healthy meals in order to be able to be independent and unsupervised for a period of time each day. These are all skills that can be outlined in an IEP with measurable goals attached and fall within the scope of practice of an occupational therapist. The occupational therapy practice framework includes ADLs, IADLs, work, education, leisure, and social participation, among others, as specific areas of occupation that fall within a therapist's domain of practice. These are all areas that may be relevant when considering a student's transition plan. Finally, it is important to include members from community agencies or post-school support services whenever possible during the transition process. The involvement of such individuals may be a critical component to the success of students with disabilities once a student leaves school. A student is not automatically eligible for community-based services or programs. There may be specific policies or eligibility requirements in place, and frequently a student or family will require support to navigate through the various systems. It is the responsibility of a school-based IEP team member to learn about the services, supports, and programs within the community that a student may be eligible for, and assist the family in establishing contacts within the various agencies. With the right tools, supports, and measures in place, the IEP team can help students with disabilities to successfully navigate the transition process and accomplish their goals as they emerge from high school and enter the world beyond.